Convention Center in Anaheim, California. The PBA is live on ESPN with a 61st U.S. Open, the third major of our PBA season. With the help of our house band, Bang Bang Bunny, our 5 finalists gunning for the $100,000 first place prize are ready to roll. First born Oscu, Finland. He's 20 years old and the first born amateur to advance to the finals of a major. Oscu, Palerma. A two-time winner of the U.S. Open who looks to defend last year's crown. His resume includes 39 titles and 6 PBA Player of the Year awards. From Ocala, Florida, Walter Ray Williams Jr. His 22 career titles include one major, the 1988 PBA National Championship, the only man of all 300 this week at the U.S. Open. From Atlanta, Georgia, Brian Voss. From Dallas, Texas, making his tour-leading 6th TV appearance of the season. He has 5 career titles and finished second at last month's ABC Masters. It's Chris Barnes. And PBA Hall of Famer, 6 career major victories. All-time, a 2-time U.S. Open champion from St. Anne, Missouri, near St. Louis, P.D.W. Pete Weber. The step ladder finals, led by our top seed, Pete Weber, ready to go. Presented by Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. It's the 61st U.S. Open. A big crowd, a rock and roll band, and the world's best bowlers all bidding for a major title. Dave Ryan, Randy Peterson. Randy, let's check those matchups.
In our first match, Oscu Palerma of Finland makes his first ever appearance in a TV Finals and takes on the all-time appearance leader, Walter Ray Williams Jr., who makes his 142nd show today. The third seed, Brian Voss, and his 22 career titles awaits the winner in the quarterfinal. In the semifinal, Chris Barnes, who has made the TV Finals of all 3 majors this season, waits for his opponent. And Pete Weber, one of 4 players to win the Triple Crown, is 1 match win away from his 7th career major.
Yeah, hello and welcome everyone to Southern California, 3rd major of the year. Glad you could join us, Dave Ryan. Randy Peterson, thoughts lane side from Holly Rowe in a moment. Randy, it's a blast from the past, the old PBA format you know so well, so the bowlers had to really test their endurance. A lot of games, step ladder final today. Pete Weber is the top seed.
Yeah, Pete Weber being in the enviable position of only needing 1 win to win this championship. When you talk about U.S. Opens, though, it's the field, the format, huge size field, 360 players, 154 amateurs. We bowled 24 games of match play. You got 30 bonus points for winning a match. First place, $100,000, lots of points, and a 3-year tour exemption. And U.S. Open, oil pattern, always difficult. This week, we basically bowled on a reverse block, which means all to the outside part of the lane and dry to the middle. Just the opposite for you folks in Home Bowling League. What this means is that if the players get the ball a little bit too far to the right, it's going to hang and it's going to be an ugly washout. An inch or 2 to the left of target, through the nose or Brooklyn, could be disastrous split. And Dave Ryan, for me, the theme this week, along with a lot of other players, was man against machine, oiling machine, that is. But these 5 guys today were able to manage their games, and when they found a consistent line to the pocket, they took advantage of that, shot after shot, game after game, and day after day.
Very intriguing 5-man field, Randy. 4 bowling superstars, 3 Hall of Famers, and a player from Finland no one's ever heard of. Randy, let's break down the 5 finalists.
Oscu Palerma, a style you've never seen before on the PBA Tour. His 2-handed heave may look unconventional at first, but at times this week it was lethal. Walter Ray Williams Jr., you have to be accurate at a U.S. Open, and that's why Walter Ray prides himself at being the best at it. He loves the tough knockdown, grind-out stuff. Brian Voss, when you bowl a U.S. Open, shot making is the theme, and nobody makes better shots than Voss. The Hall of Famer looking to win his first major since '88. Chris Barnes has made the show in all three majors this season. He finished second to Walter Ray a couple of weeks ago, using that as the impetus to win his first major. Pete Weber with 6 major victories to his credit. No surprise he's on the telecast today. His audacity and persistence is why he's a threat in every major.
Talk about pressure on Oscu Palerma. He's 20 years old from Finland. He's never been on TV before. He makes his debut against the Hall of Fame legend Walter Ray Williams Jr. with his 39 career titles in all those majors. So Palerma with the unorthodox two-handed delivery against the legend Walter Ray Williams Jr. The first match from the 61st U.S. Open is next. ESPN's exclusive live coverage of the 61st U.S. Open presented by Jackson Hewitt Tax Service is brought to you by Uniroyal, the official tire of the PBA Tour. Uniroyal tires trusted by American families since 1892. By the official candy bar of the PBA, Baby Ruth from Nestle, the real deal. And by Cambridge Credit Counseling. Log on to nodebt.com and find out how good it feels to be debt-free. Folks, it is gorgeous in Southern California this time of year. The Anaheim Convention Center, just moments from Disneyland. Double points, $100,000 on the line, $350,000 total purse. There's pressure. How did these two bowlers get this far? Let's find out. Walter Ray Williams Jr. was in the top 5 all day Saturday, winning 5 of his 8 matches in the morning session. But in the position round, his best wasn't good enough. He lost to Brian Voss 230 to 212 and is the 4th seed today. Finnish amateur Oscu Palerma, with his unusual two-handed style, looked a bit bizarre, but put him in position to make the show. He bowled Brad Angelo for the final spot, emerging victorious. The 5th seed is with our Holly Rowe, laneside down below.
Oscu, many people are very intrigued by your two-handed bowling style. Where did you learn that?
I learned from when I started, when I was 2 years old, so it's kind of stuck with me.
It seems to have worked well for you this week. Are you nervous to bowl in this atmosphere in a foreign country?
A little bit, but not too much.
You said that you have to just worry about yourself, not about these other great bowlers you're bowling against. How will you stay focused?
I don't know.
Just take time. Okay, good luck. Okay.
As simple as, I don't know, Holly. We'll find out. Folks, remember, he's 20 years old. He's only been in the United States a couple of times. He bowled in the ABC Masters 2 weeks ago in Reno. Has never been this far. And he's a deliberate bowler. Randy, we watched him last night at Fountain Valley here in Southern California. And between the strike ball and the spare ball, it takes a long time. We asked him last night, hey, there's a shot clock, you know. It's going to cost you some money if you keep taking so much time. We'll see how he adjusts on TV. First ever TV ball on a 7-pin for Oscu Palerma with a two-handed delivery.
Yeah, don't adjust your TV sets. This is for real. 2 hands, his fingers only in the ball, and check this out. I have never seen this before. And let me tell you something. This guy is really, really impressive, especially for a 20-year-old.
Watch how fast he throws the spare ball. Last night, it's a one-handed delivery, folks, by the way, with a spare ball. He just cranks it. Our cameras can barely follow how fast that ball's going down the lane at over 30 miles an hour.
You thought Robert Smith was fast. This kid can really bring it. Gets that backswing up over his head and just lets it fly.
How taken was Oscu by his experience here? He was asking Brian Voss, Walter Ray Williams Jr., Pete Weber for their autographs at the beginning of the week, and now he's competing against Walter Ray. U.S. Open, the biggest event of our season to this point, and a good start for Walter Ray Williams Jr. bidding for his 2nd major of the season, leading us to the Baby Ruth Real Deal matchup, Randy.
And a pretty tight comparison here with the exception of average, but look at this. Something that you don't see very often, especially from Walter Ray Williams Jr. Really low spare conversion percentage rate for him. But because of the lane conditions being so tough, that's why the percentage was so low. This guy here doesn't lose very often on television, 7-0.
Absolutely red hot coming into this 61st U.S. Open presented by Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. And keep in mind, Walter Ray's season has been up and down, and mostly down in the first half. Gary is right, Walter Ray. And a double start for Walter Ray Williams Jr., who told us last night 32nd place after the first half of the year. He was baffled by his play.
He sure was, but you know what? Ever since he won the first tournament of the second half of the season, it jump-started, ignited Walter Ray Williams Jr. We're used to seeing this from him. We saw it all of last year. They did bowl against each other yesterday in match play. Remember, 24 games. You bowled everybody once. The 24th game being position round.
First TV strike in the career of Oscu Palerma from Espoo, Finland.
When you want to throw revs and a big hook, don't put your thumb in it, because it's impossible to throw it straight.
How many people, Randy, right now nationwide are thinking about trying this style?
Everybody watching
the show.
Do it. Everybody watching the show tomorrow will go and practice trying to throw it with two hands, including myself.
It could cause a new national craze, not only in this country, but in Finland as well. The thumb will not go in. Keeps it out. Looks for his first ever TV double. Came in a little bit high, but gets a break late. 9-pin goes.
Using two different bowling balls, trips the 4-9 and makes up for the solid 9 that he left in the first frame. One thing about not using your thumb when you're bowling on a tough lane condition is we all have a tendency to grab it with the thumb hole. Pinch that thumb hole at the bottom of the swing. Well, when your thumb's not in it, you can't pinch it.
Walter Ray Williams Jr. will have none of this losing to a rookie. Turkey to start for Walter Ray and a 10-pin lead. In his wins, big numbers. Not so much the losses like he had against Palerma in the match play stat we showed.
But, you know, the thing about it was that when he didn't win, he didn't shoot 140 and 150. That's what kept him in the tournament.
Up 10, looking for a 20-pin lead and a four-bagger to start. Walter Ray Williams Jr. has it right in the pocket. 60 feet to success for the Hall of Famer.
As tough as the lane conditions are, when you get 5 guys on a pair of lanes for a half an hour, you can wear out a spot on the lane to help get your ball to roll up into the pocket more consistently. Walter Ray playing outside second arrow. Oscu is playing inside.
Oscu, as you mentioned with Holly, started bowling at 2 years old, and because at 2 it's hard to throw a bowling ball that far. That came in way high through the nose. And the 3-6 up for Palerma. Never adjusted from the style, although he is working on a one-handed delivery.
Well, if you notice, he went to another ball in the right lane after throwing a strike in the second frame with a different ball. I don't know if it was a mental error. First time on TV can do strange things to you, or if he just decided he didn't like the way that one ball reacted.
He is moving at a much faster clip, folks, than last night, where he took so much time between the strike ball and the spare ball. And with that laser beam, plastic ball goes right at the 3-6 and takes care of his spare. The PBA Tour season heading down the home stretch. PBA.com, your best source to find out all the latest PBA news. Special sections detail who's on the bubble. The top 8 getting to that round is Super 16. The exempt field as well for next season. Story, stats, player features, and more, all a mouse click away. www.pba.com. Oscu down 22 pins. Incredibly enough, did not play hockey growing up in Finland. Had to be one of the few kids who didn't in Espoo, Finland. That comes in on the light side. Really likes soccer, though. That was the other sport in addition to bowling, playing on the defensive end of the soccer pitch.
Check out his eyes, staying on the target. Looks like he gets really quick on this shot. He knows it as soon as it leaves his hand. We showed you in the old pattern, if you get it too far to the right, it's not getting back.
And getting back to that adjustment between balls, tough for a guy like this to get out of his normal rhythm, which may be 30, 40 seconds between shots. Now he's rushing.
I think the whole atmosphere is tough for him. For anybody for their first time on television, especially trying to beat the likes of a Walter Ray Williams Jr. and win a U.S. Open title. Tall task for anyone.
Tall task right now, considering especially that Walter Ray has the front 4. Going for the first 5, a 5-bagger, 25-pin lead now. Strike here, and he's down 35. It's Palerma, but that's a little bit high. And Never easy to deal with a 310.
Ball gets inside of target and not by a whole lot, and this week it didn't have to. Walter Ray needs to cover both balls, or excuse me, both pins with the ball. He's going to get the ball just to the right of the 3-pin. It'll deflect off into the 10.
Walter Ray, 6 in points, but he is exempt already with his 2 tour titles. One in Seattle and another major in Reno 2 weeks ago. Takes care of the spare nicely.
And that's why he was able to stay out of trouble this week by making small splits like that all week long, trying to become the first player to defend his title since Davey Husted did it back in 95 and 6. And all he has to do is get by this first match and then beat Chris Barnes and Brian Voss and then Pete Weber.
Quite a list. Superstars all. 3 of them already in the Hall of Fame in our field, and he'll break off again. It could be a fan or some movement to his right, perhaps, in our arena setting here at the Anaheim Convention Center. Big crowd on hand. 3rd major of the season, as Walter Ray bids for his 3rd U.S. Open title in his great career. Yeah, that's the way to get there. Big shots like that. Been a very interesting 2003, 2004 for Walter Ray Williams Jr. We'll talk about that. Also conclude this exciting match. Will the rookie advance or the Hall of Famer to the next step? Our step ladder format. Last year's U.S. Open from Fountain Valley, California was a record-setting day for Walter Ray Williams Jr. Not only did he win his 2nd U.S. Open title, but in doing so became the first player to win $3 million in career earnings. In the championship match, Walter Ray beat Michael Haugen Jr., earning his 36th career PBA title and the $100,000 first place check. 2nd U.S. Open title a year ago for Walter Ray Williams Jr. He's won 2 as well. Pete Weber. Maybe 2 becomes 3. Chris Barnes in the foreground waiting as well. Pete is the #1 seed, so he's just got to win 1 match to take another major championship. It would be his 7th of his great career. He's clinched $50,000 in the run-up prize already. He'd like a lot more, as would Oscu Palerma from Finland, who leads the 4.
Staying with that blue ball on that right lane after he struck with the other ball. I'm not sure why, but he knows what he's doing. That's why he's down there and I'm up here.
Oscu has wrapped up $10,000 at least with the 5th place money. Should he lose this match, it's about 7,500 euros back home.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Finland has gone to euros. They used to be on the marka monetary system. Family back home is logged on right now on PBA.com. That's how they're watching the show. Mom Sointu, Dad Timo, brother Tony, who's 17 years old and also has been bowling for 8 years, but he bowls with 1 hand only. Quite a story for this young man from Finland, who, as he's mentioned, has had some back problems, Randy, so he's worked hard on the 1-hand delivery with a strike ball. That may be next for him.
Said he's been working real hard on trying to get it with just 1 hand.
2 hands work very well, though, thank you. All 10 down for Oscu Palerma.
The last player to win a PBA title on the tour not using his thumb, my buddy Mike Miller. He also bowled a 300 game on television in Reno. This 2-handed thing I've never seen before. Looks pretty awesome.
We'll get distracted again. He'll reload now and get ready to go with a 23-pin lead. Up 33 pins with a strike here. Trying to double in the 7th. Max numbers, bottom left of your screen. 278 for Walter Ray Williams Jr.
Thanks, Ian. No problem. Lots of distractions down the lane. It's the problem that we have in arenas. Remember the one arena finals where the fan actually snapped a flash photograph of Walter Ray right in his downswing.
Was last year at Siena College, Loudonville, New York, and the arena setting as well. It is different for the bowlers than the normal bowling centers we have a lot of our TV shows on. It can be distracting. You see how close they are to the bowlers there. Walter Ray Williams Jr., a master at focus and concentration, overcomes any distraction for a big strike.
That's why he's a Hall of Famer. Now check out where he's playing on the right lane, around the 6th board, pretty straight, not a whole lot of loft. Check this out. Left lane, 11th arrow or 11th board with a little bit of loft. That's why Walter Ray is great. Hall of Famer, 39 titles, 2 away from the mark set by Earl Anthony at 41.
Looks for a strike and a 10-pin. Trying to take a 44-pin lead there. At 33 is Walter Ray Williams Jr. as he bids for yet another title. As you mentioned, to try to get close to Earl Anthony's record. He never thought, as we see the great numbers with single pin conversions, heading into this year he had a chance to catch Earl, which is now very realistic. With all the events left in the second half of our year, he could win here today for number 40. His goal, as he told us last night, make 5 shows, win 1. This will be his 3rd show and a chance for a 3rd title in it.
With the tour going to an all-exempt field and all match play next year, Walter Ray Williams, in my opinion, will pass Earl Anthony in the all-time career title list. And he'll probably do it next year, although I wouldn't put it past him if he did at least tie Earl this year.
Top 8 in points get to the World Championship round of Super 16. That's a big goal for the bowlers. That came in way high. In fact, a Brooklyn strike for Palerma. The exempt tour next year. It's what everyone is seeking at this point. It's a 64-man field, 50 from points and winners from this year. Tour trials over the summer will take 8 spots up and 4 from the weekly qualifiers as well. Who's in so far? Patrick Healy Jr. has 2 wins, as does Walter Ray Williams Jr. Robert Smith in Omaha won so long ago. We haven't seen him on TV since then. It's been a very interesting season. And toward the bottom, you saw Mika and Pete, as we'll go over later in the broadcast today. Who are the favorites for the Player of the Year honors? Those 2 are high candidates right now. Oscu goes high. Trying to stay hot. 3-6.
And that, my friends, will be the end, in all likelihood, of Oscu. This ball is left of target. Goes right through the nose, only leaving the 3-6. But he needed to strike there to keep on Walter Ray. If he would have struck out, he would have been in the 240s. Right now, with a spare here, he can shoot 222. Walter Ray Williams Jr. going at a 227 pace, meaning if Walter Ray strikes and spares out, he will shoot 227. Right now, Walter Ray, all he needs to do is do what he's been doing the whole game. Stay out of trouble, avoid open frames, keep the ball in play. And a big strike here in the 9th frame, well, it will prove to be a big step towards winning this match.
He wanted that ball to fade. That came in a little bit high. He was not happy with that release at all. In this scenario, the fans are very close on the right of Walter Ray. The TV pair, the 2 right pair of our 4 here in Anaheim. So the fans are right on top of the bowlers, and that can be distracting. It's intense fan participation here.
Look out.
That good seat. 10-pin.
Well, I said that this match was all but over, and right now Walter Ray Williams Jr. needs 2 strikes in the 10th frame to lock this up. If Walter Ray goes spare 9, Oscu can strike out in the 10th frame and tie.
Unbelievable. That late open can hurt you so badly as opposed to the early open frame. Look at the great start he had as you see the score to this point. Rebounds nicely. Big one.
Big strike there. He carries a little bit of a high pocket hit. Right now, all he needs is a spare to win this. A strike and it's over. Any kind of spare will do. Anything less, Oscu Palerma still has a chance.
What has got to be going through his mind? 20 years old, first ever TV show against the Hall of Famer, and he's still alive.
Does it get any better than that? From a guy, the quality, ability, of Walter Ray Williams Jr., you're just not surprised when he steps up and he does something like that. That's why he has 39 career titles. And what a tall order to ask of a young 20-year-old who's not even from this country to try to take on and defeat Walter Ray Williams Jr.
Looks like it'll be too tall a task, although that comes in right through the nose. But it's still enough. He does advance to the quarterfinal to take on fellow Hall of Famer Brian Voss. And the head-to-head matchups 3 and 4 against BV. Pretty good average. What a week it has been for Oscu Palerma, who tomorrow returns to Europe. He told us last night, regardless of the result today, he was heading back home. Brian Voss is waiting. Getting himself focused. That ball high. Doesn't leave the big four, but close to it. Oscu has got to enlist in the Finnish Army. That'll have to happen before he pursues a full-time career on the PBA Tour. He's only 20 years old.
Watch how hard this one is.
He's going to really wing it. Oh, yikes, with a loft. Whoa. That's about 52 kilometers an hour, 31 miles an hour. All week, Oscu was filing reports for a local newspaper back home in Espoo, Finland, via email. He's got to report one more time on what happened. That he lost to Walter Ray Williams Jr., but what a run it was. 228 to 198. So Walter Ray looks for his second major of the year. He's to the quarterfinal against Brian Voss. It's been a rough year for the Hall of Famer Parker Bohm III. Can he rebound and try to make exempt tour status for next year? We'll find out. Holly Rowe has a word with Parker when we return. One of the big questions this year on tour, in addition to the exempt tour status, who wins Player of the Year honors? Let's take a look. Maybe it's Walter Ray Williams Jr., maybe it's Pete Weber. We start with Major Mika, the big Finn, Mika Koivuniemi Randy, who had a good start to the year. The fall swing made several TV shows, but then started winning events, beginning with Windsor Locks.
Dave, the players vote for Player of the Year honors, and the main ingredients we look at is consistency and wins week in and week out, and Mika is that guy. He won on pattern E, which he loves, won on pattern B, which doesn't suit his game at all. 300 in Windsor Locks en route to winning. He's at the top of the list.
Titles in Windsor Locks in Reno, and his roommate Patrick Healy Jr. has been very consistent in match play this year. It all got going for him with his first win of the season on Long Island, and the roll didn't stop Randy, as you know, at the TOC in Connecticut not long after that.
And it took Patrick Healy a couple of weeks to get acclimated to new equipment. Since then, he had 3 top 8s in a row before winning in Long Island. He followed that up by beating me at the Tournament of Champions for his first major win. But for him to win this award, he needs to win 2 more events or the season-ending World Championship.
Randy's someone who knows a lot about Player of the Year honors, Walter Ray Williams Jr. He's won 6 in his great Hall of Fame career. What an amazing story. First half of the season, no TV shows, no wins. Now he's won 2 times in the first 4 weeks, second half of the year, all starting in miraculous fashion against Lonnie Walchuk.
Just when you thought Deadeye was dead and buried, he wins to start the second half of the season. 2 weeks later, captures the Masters. He's been a model of consistency his entire career. With a win today, awfully tough not to vote for him.
You ask who the vote should be with PDW, he says himself. He's confident he has just an incredible season, consistent with the points, and he has a victory as well.
And told me last night he thinks this is the best year he's ever had on the PBA Tour. The most gifted player ever to throw a bowling ball, surpassed his Hall of Fame father in every statistical category, and the Player of the Year honor is his holy grail. With a win today, he'll be #1 on the list for Player of the Year honors.
Won his 30th title in incredible fashion when Duluth's left the 10-pin in Medford, Oregon this year.
Well, we're talking about Player of the Year honors. 2-time Player of the Year, Parker Bohm, joins us now. Parker, we talk about the season and how the format has changed. You find yourself in the Hall of Fame, a 2-time Player of the Year, but maybe not going to be on tour next year because of the new format. How do you approach that?
Well, you know, Holly, since 1989, I've been in the top 16 in the points every year. This year I find myself outside of the top 50 looking in. But there's still a long season to go. I've been working on some things. Obviously had a small back problem here. We've overcome that. But there's still 5 weeks left, to be honest with you. For all the Parker Bohm fans, I will get to the top 50. It's just a matter of time.
Well, we see Walter Ray Williams, for example. He had a tough part of the season, the first half. The second half, he's turned it around. What do you have to do to turn it around?
Just got to figure out how to adapt my game to the patterns that we're bowling on this season. I've been working on some things, trying to change my role just a little bit to adapt to it a little bit better. And I think I'm getting close. It's just a matter of time before Parker Bone breaks loose.
All right, thanks very much for joining us, Dave. Back to you.
So, Holly, you heard it. A little guarantee from Parker Bone III. He will make the top 50. We shall see with just so few events remaining. Brian Voss knows a thing or two about winning major championships and Player of the Year honors. He's done each of those. Another one of our legends in a stacked field of 5 superstars going for a major championship. BB Brian Voss from Atlanta, Georgia, with all the emotion, is back on TV. Walter A. Williams Jr. stands in his way. Stepladder format. Old school PBA. Beautiful Southern California where the weather is fabulous for all of you those freezing in the Northwest, the Northeast. It's great out here, folks. And inside, things are hot too. Our house band, Bang Bang Bunny, continuing the party atmosphere. Rock and roll bowling going on. Brian Voss, another interesting ride here to the TV show. How did he get this far? Let's find out. Our focus, Brian Voss, was around the top of the leaderboard all week. He averaged 235 in his wins while mowing through the field. In the position match last night, BV made the elusive 7-10 split, sending the crowd into a frenzy and propelling him to victory over Walter A. Williams Jr. He's now with Holly Rowe laneside.
Well, Brian, it's been since 1988 when you won your first major. It's been a while. What's it like to be back in the spotlight?
Well, first of all, I love bowling. This is my life. These are my best friends. It's really nice to be back here. I struggled a little bit earlier in this season, but things are coming around. This is a huge tournament. You know, $100,000 a major. Guys like Walter A. and Chris and Pete, it's just wonderful to be here.
You said you changed your game radically 4 weeks ago. What's been different that's been helping you?
Well, sometimes in life you just go back to basics. I went back to 4 steps and worked real hard on my time. Worked right away. My thanks for AMF 300. They're customizing some balls for me, and thanks, guys.
All right, seems to be working. Dave, back to you.
February 23rd, Holly, 2003. Last time we saw BV Brian Voss, one of the legends of our game, on TV. The Tar Heel Open, Burlington, North Carolina, lost to Pete Weber in the title match. 245-182. We saw his last win in Memphis of last year. What a victory that was. Danny Wiseman, really exciting bowling with his 2 sons, Joshua and Cameron, who are locked in right now back home in Atlanta. They were there laneside to watch Dad win in Memphis. Now I'd like to see him on ESPN win in the stepladder format over fellow Hall of Famer Walter A. Williams Jr., who has a great start.
Well, we saw Walter A. lofting it a little bit the first match. Watch this. Wow. A full arrow left of where he was at the start of his last match. That means the lanes are breaking down. They're breaking down quick.
What focus and concentration for Walter A. Williams Jr. CBV at 45 years old. We have a veteran field here with the exception of our youngster, Oscu Palerma from Finland, just 20 years old. Beyond that, beautiful. The graybeards of the PBA, and these guys know how to win in big situations, leading us to the Baby Ruth Real Deal matchup.
The 40-year-olds know how to get it done. Spare conversion percentage a bit low for Brian Voss. He had the edge in average, though. And speaking of average, you see what Brian did in his wins. And when you shoot 235 in match play and you get 30 bonus points, that's like bowling 265. And when he bowled bad, it was only a 201 average, so not devastating. That's what kept him in the tournament.
With a field size of 360, folks, to begin. That really had a hurry, then did. 40-foot oil pattern, as we talked about. Interesting ball reaction from Brian Voss there as it hurried late at the end of the oil when it grabbed onto the friction, then sprinted to the pocket.
About a board ride of where Walter Ray is playing soft hand, soft speed, and you think Brian wants this win, this tournament? Told us he went back to 4 steps, and that's what's made the difference for him the last 3 weeks.
About a month ago that happened, a little bit high, and a 4-pin for Walter A. Williams Jr., who on that right of the TV pair has had some struggles. We saw those numbers from Brian Voss. Wins and losses to make the top quarter of the field. It was a 198.33 average to make the top 24, 206.11 to get there. So the numbers have been low across the board, really, with this oil pattern at 40 feet. Walter Williams Jr.'s wife, Paige Pennington, as usual, lane side to watch her husband. Pete Weber's wife, Tracy, here, of course. We'll see in the title match. Who will PDW's foe be? That's the question. Late help on number 10. Down she goes.
Catches the leaner. Sixpin's going to go to the sidewall and just lean on the 10. Of course, there was a messenger coming across just for insurance. Think Walter Ray wanted that hit? Oh, yeah. Still early, but he doesn't want to get down by too much early on in the match. Brian Voss, perfect through 2 frames. Walter Ray Williams Jr., strike, spare strike.
Looking for the turkey ball. Great field of bowlers we've had as we talked about the legend status of many, including Brian Voss, who's trying to get back in the winner's circle and win another major. Look at all the championships, and the average age is brought way down by our 20-year-old from Finland.
And if you talk to our players on TV today, they're going to tell you the reason why we have what we have today is because of the old format. More games bowled, the cream rises to the top, especially under this type of pressure and bowling on this type of lane condition.
4 weeks ago, went to the 4-step delivery, did Brian Voss. Desperate to change something, and look out. That comes in right through the old schnoz. A high shot, leaving 4. Difficult spare to pick up.
Ball looks like it's left of target. Cuts right through the heart, leaving the 3, 4, 6, 7. He's got to get the ball over into this area here. Throw the 3-pin into the 4-7. The ball will take out the 6.
How devastating can opens be in a major? In a big match like this.
Look
Trying
out.
to get some luck. No. Leaves 3. Now he's got a rebound.
Big time open frame because of the fact that he lost count and it's an open frame. This match is now all even.
Just like that. And Voss had strikes in the first 3 frames. 2 or 3 for fellow legend Walter Ray Williams Jr. Really in for a treat here today, folks. Stacked field. 4 of our 5 bowlers are absolute superstars of the sport. And again, that comes in high. Again, on the second of the TV pair that has really baffled Walter Ray.
I watched Walter Ray in practice after his first match. He got to throw some shots on the right lane, and he looked completely lost. This one cuts right through the heart, leaving the 4, 6, 7. And Walter Ray gives that big opening right back to Brian Voss.
Next week, the PBA Tour rolls on to Tucson, Arizona. Luckily, we got to stay warm, folks. That's the good news. The PBA Odor Eaters Open. The action starts live 12:30 Eastern Time. Again, note the start time. It's changed from our normal 1 o'clock Eastern as we had today, 12:30 Eastern Time. 9:30 here on the West Coast. Don't miss the best bowlers from the world from Tucson, Arizona. Next Sunday, we head to the desert. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Hurrying to the pocket for Walter Ray Williams Jr.
He's wired in on this lane. He made the adjustment. Actually looks like he has a little bit of mistake room to the right now. That ball's a little bit right of target. Can't do it on the right lane. I watched him in practice. When he gets it wide on that lane, it hangs. I saw him leave nothing but washouts in practice. Now Brian Voss looking to rebound from big, ugly split in the 4th frame.
Well, pin advantage prior to the strike from Brian Voss. He said, looking at the tour points list, 115th after Seattle, and basically was ready to try anything. He was really struggling with the low numbers. So that's why he made the adjustment with the approach.
Yeah, he went from nowhere to now he's in like 17th in about 4 weeks. Double points here, double points at the Masters where he had a great week and almost made the show in Medford. Big shot there.
That's how you rebound from an early open. PV, Brian Voss staying in the match. Things are close. 22-pin lead right now for Brian Voss. When we come back, we'll review the great Dave Husted's exploits in U.S. Open history. He's won 3 of them and finished this match as well. In 1982 at the U.S. Open in Houston, Texas, Dave Husted qualified 4th for the telecast and would average over 250 pins through 4 TV matches to capture the title. It would be his very first PBA championship. But 13 years later, in 1995 and 96, he would win back-to-back U.S. Opens, making him the very first player in PBA history to own 3 U.S. Open titles. During our commercial break, that's Walter Ray Williams Jr. on his belly. What's he doing there, Randy?
He's looking at the ball track going down the lane. The bowling balls actually leave lines in the oil. And Walter Ray right now is trying to find a place to play on that lane. He's completely lost.
This is the lane he was investigating. The right of the TV pair and obviously made proper adjustments. He knows what he's doing.
He stood there and looked at that lane throughout the entire commercial break, and he moved into where Brian Voss is. What a smart, savvy move. That's some serious maple moxie for Walter Ray Williams Jr.
So double 5th and 6th for Walter Ray. Now down 12 pins, chance to cut the deficit just to 2. That early open, well, to open in the 4th anyway, with a low pin count of just 7 for Voss. May come back to bite out. That's the proper adjustment on the left of the TV pair. Blisters the rack, 10 down in the pin.
Do you have any idea how difficult it is to, number one, make the adjustment? It's basically an educated guess. And then convince your body that it's the right move so that you can make the proper shot. Extremely difficult to do. Only the best do it and pull it off.
One of the best right here. On that right of the TV pair, Brian Voss. Yeah! Likes shearing the pins. Checking the Days In on the road. As we mentioned, we're in Tucson, 12:30 Eastern next week. Leading into the Days In Open from Dallas, Texas, a couple weeks down the road. Don't forget the PBA World Championship from EMU, Ypsilanti, Michigan. There are plenty of great seats available, folks. Log on to PBA.com and be sure to buy your tickets. Some regional sites as well in Florida, PA, and Arizona. Our Days In on the road. Max scores. You see for Brian Voss at 260. Still got his chance. Help! Number 10. No. Try.
Does this guy want to win or what? He's making pure shots, and watch this great break. How bad does Brian Voss want this championship?
As you can plainly see, Coach, Brian Voss is very emotional. Last night he told us after he made the final 5, took a moment, had some tears. It was emotional for him. A little bit of a cry for Brian last night because of how hard he's worked to get back to elite status, and that is a high shot for Walter Ray Williams Jr. again on the right of the TV pair.
The right lane is Walter Ray Williams Jr.'s Achilles heel.
He's down 25 pins right now.
He did throw the strike in the last frame on that lane, but that obviously was not a very good shot. It didn't look like it was a shot full of confidence.
Covers a 3-6-10 nicely for his spare. Tonight, AFC NFC Pro Bowl returning to ESPN. One-of-a-kind NFL event, game for the fan. More mics, cameras, innovative technology like Skycam promise superior access that only ESPN can deliver. Peyton Manning, Jamal Lewis, Priest Holmes lead the AFC against Brett Favre, Amon Green, and Randy Moss of the Vikings. And the NFC, it's all coming up 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Back to Walter Ray. Almost had a 7-10 to deal with, which Brian Voss converted last night at Fountain Valley. Number 7 remains.
Ball comes in light, swish zone, light mixer, whatever you want to call it, but leaves the 7-pin in a situation where Walter Ray really needed to strike. Brian Voss in command.
Two sons are watching closely back home. Josh, 11. Cameron is 10 years old in Atlanta. They were following Dad every shot, frame by frame, on the internet on PBA.com, on the webcast. Last night,
It's a little bit tight.
and that's his best Austin Powers impersonation. You see the number 7 of 8 strikes. He has been red hot here. Josh and Cameron were lane side, as we talked about early in the broadcast, for that incredible win in Memphis last fall, in the fall of 2002, last season. It's been close to making 3 shows, but it's been a struggle for him. He's focused. Big strike.
That's a winner! That's a winner!
Absolutely perfect in the 9th frame that wraps up the match. Watch the whole crowd.
Just needs 5 pins here, Randy. He'll shut out Walter Ray Williams Jr. Advance on to the next round. There she is. Another strike for BB. Brian Voss is through to take on Chris Barnes.
Last night, Brian Voss told us that after the tournament in Seattle, his bowling life was on the line with 9 weeks to go. A lot of soul searching. He basically had no feel, no nothing. He went back to basics, back to 4 steps, which is what he used on tour for 14 years, and all of a sudden found some timing.
Well, fast track to the end for Walter Ray Williams Jr. The late open for him in the foundation was just a killer. A lack of pin count anyway for Walter Ray. And the open he had in the 4th. Each had opens in the 4th. Now he's got the right lane figured out pretty well.
Yeah, it's a little late for that, unfortunately, for Walter Ray. Brian Voss strikes in 11 out of 12 frames for 260.
What a game for Brian Voss when it mattered most in the quarterfinal. BV will take on CB, Chris Barnes, who is bidding for his first ever major championship. And that comes up next from Southern California. Voss is through. Speaking of SoCal, a native of this area is Robert Smith, who won in Omaha. When we come back, we'll hear from Robert about his career.
My mom was the worst. My mom was the absolute worst. I mean, she comes down to the bowl, she wants to watch this and that. All of a sudden I get on the TV show and nowhere to be found. I'm like, Dad, where'd she go? And so, oh, she's outside in the car. She can't handle it.
Oh my God, I'm a man.
Party atmosphere here at the 61st U.S. Open presented by Jackson Hewitt. Bang, bang, buddy, our house band is rocking today.
Do it to it.
Now look at the players that are exempt for next season, including Southern California native Robert Smith, 2000 U.S. Open champion. His odyssey, that title began in Los Angeles in 1994. He gives us the details in this week's Miller Milestone.
One more strike to go.
That week started out bad because that was the day of the Northridge quake on that Monday. So the next day, I mean, everything is just a mess. That whole night when I knew I led and made the show, I mean, that was probably the worst sleep I've ever had. I mean, I bet you I didn't put in 2 hours tops. From even watching the show, still now, I can't believe how much I was sweating. I mean, I was absolutely just petrified. Then the show starts. Norm is all of a sudden, instead of playing straight up the lane like we had pretty much done all week, he is now hooking the entire lane, and I'm like, what is going on here? Up until the 9th frame, I really thought I had a chance to get back on this game, and I 4-pinned late, and that was it. I mean, Norm did what he was supposed to do, strike out on me, and that was it. I think I gave people a little eye-opener that week. U.S. Open, I'm bowling Norm again. So it's the second time we bowled in a title match. And now this time, instead of him playing my line, I'm playing Norm at his line. I had Norm beat like he had me beat. And I forgot what I had done to him back in '94. And all of a sudden, here comes Norm. Boom, strike, boom, strike, boom, strike. And I go up in the 9th frame, and I ring a 10. great shot. And I come back, I'm so disgusted with the fact I leave this 10-pin. I flag it. I mean, I miss it by a mile. I think I broke the gun. I have now gone from, in a matter of about 5 to 10 minutes, going from the fact that I'm going to win this tournament to now that I've just lost the tournament. I'm sitting there and I'm in the seat and I got the towel in my face and I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, you screwed up, you blew it. So Norm's getting up, I can hear the crowd yelling the do thing, and I can hear him throw a shot, I can hear the crowd go crazy, and all of a sudden I don't hear the, yeah, I hear the, oh, and I'm like, what happened? So I take the towel off and I look, and all of a sudden I see this 8-pin kind of shaking, dancing, didn't fall down. From that point on when I got the title, it was a payback, it was a let you know I'm here. I mean, a lot of things went through. I validated a lot of things that maybe I had started in '94 that people had saw to where it took me 6 years later, but I validated everything that I had tried to do.
Our Southern California native Robert Smith, who won in Omaha but hasn't been on TV since. Chris Barnes wants to try to get himself a major championship.
So what are we playing for? Well, I think we have to play like a weird game.
The Odd Couple, Pete Weber and rock and roller Adrian Young, the drummer for the band No Doubt, shared a lane at the Pro-Am this week in Fountain Valley, California. PDW showed his buddies some of his moves, and the PBA had a new fan, Adrian Young. Adrian Young is here. He is awaiting his buddy Pete Weber in the final. Who will he take on? Sitting right next to Pete's wife, Tracy. We'll find out, because our matchup is Barnes against Brian Voss. The question is, how did Chris Barnes get this far? Let's find out. Chris Barnes continued his quest for his first ever major championship and second title of the year. He had the tournament after day one and never fell below 15th. He bowled Pete Weber for the first seed last night and lost 247 to 211. The number 2 seed is on the approach with Holly Rowe. It's Chris Barnes from Dallas.
Chris, in the earlier match, we saw Walter Way Williams Jr. really struggle on this right lane. You had some problems warming up. How do you attack it?
Well, it's tighter down lane, but it hooks more in the front, so it's tougher for everyone. I thought about using 2 different balls. I think I'm going to use the same one. Just got to make better shots on that lane than on the other one.
All right, we'll see how it works out.
Thanks.
Dave?
Holly, great arena record as we saw there for Chris Barnes. Almost hard to believe, Randy, the two have never met on television before. Chris Barnes and Brian Voss. Head-to-head on TV, first time ever, and it comes in a huge setting at the U.S. Open. Talk about red hot in the quarters.
Brian Voss's shot to the pocket looked unbeatable. Let's see if it holds up for another game.
With all the emotion and focus, we'll see. Right in the pocket again. He cures that ball. Great start for Voss.
The ageless form of Brian Voss. He's been doing that throughout his entire career. The thing that I like most about what he does is how balanced he is at the foul line.
Now it's Chris Barnes, who has a lot of questions to answer, folks, today. 4-pin for Chris. We saw the arena record, the fact that he's made the TV show in all 3 major events now. The TOC in Connecticut, the ABC Masters in Reno, and now here in Southern California. But in the majors, boys, he struggled on TV. How can he advance to the next level?
Well, that's a good question.
Skims the 4-pin.
Start.
That's a big sigh of relief leading into our Baby Ruth real deal matchup.
Yeah, and if he'd have whiffed that spare conversion percentage would have gone down. Pretty tight here. Voss, a slight advantage in average. And remember that the spare conversion percentage includes splits. First average we've seen that was under 200 when he lost a game.
Now it's a one-game format, Randy. Win or go home as he bids for his first ever major. What kind of an advantage do you think a player like Brian Voss has, having won major championships in the past, over Chris, who's still, as we saw, 0-6 in majors on TV, trying to get there?
Well, I think the only advantage that Brian has is all mental because of the fact that Brian's won 22 times on tour, and Chris, in my opinion, right now is struggling with winning. The one thing that he's not doing in his career. He's done everything else. He makes shows. He beats everybody, for the entire week until TV day.
That's on TV for Voss. Look out the right of the TV pair, which has been the bugaboo lane. I'd like to thank Jack and John, the BPA President and Executive Director of the Proprietors Association, for all their wonderful help, hospitality, and their great staff getting all the event preparation taken care of. There's so many people to thank who do unbelievable jobs between the two centers in Fountain Valley where you competed, and here at arena final setting at the Anaheim Convention Center.
Fountain Bowl's been around a long time. I actually bowled there when I was a junior bowler, when I was a member of the Greater LA Junior All-Stars.
That's right, you're a SoCal native as well, now living in Florida. Let's good look at the oil right on the ball there. See how the balls respond. That's the response PV wants. Strikes in the third.
It'll be interesting to see what happens when he comes back to the right lane, whether or not it was a bad shot or whether or not he has to make a big adjustment. But one thing's for certain, the left lane seems to be the better of the two lanes. That's the lane that's held up the best. The players have had most success on that left lane.
Can Chris Barnes elevate himself to the next level and win his first ever major? He told us last night, when it comes to bowling on TV, he's had good games, just not great games yet.
He's bowled good games, and he's bowled some games that were good enough to win. But when he bowled against Walter Ray Williams Jr., he just had to have more. Walter Ray bowled a great game, and in order for Chris to have won that, he needed to bowl a great game, and it wasn't to be. Chris feels very fortunate that he only left a 4-pin on that last shot.
Sixth TV appearance of the year for Chris Barnes, maybe number 7 next week. When we roll on to Tucson, Arizona, the PBA Odor Eaters Open. The action starts live, 12:30 Eastern Time. Note the start time, folks. We're at 12:30 again, as we were this week, not 1 o'clock, as we have been earlier in the season. Don't miss the best bowlers in the world from Tucson next Sunday. For more, log on to ESPN.com. One in Japan, made the show in Kansas City and Albany, the TOC, ABC Masters, and now the U.S. Open. 6 TV appearances. Chris Barnes. The win in Japan counts as a tour title, not for exempt status for next year or for points.
A little bit straighter, a little bit more direct, a little more speed. This ball's perfect. Chris Barnes has all the tricks. He can move way inside and hook it, and he can throw it on a straight line, and you have to have all the tools to get to this level on the PBA Tour.
34th career TV appearance for Barnes. Brian Voss has been on plenty of TV shows himself. 75 times, either double wood there. The 2-8 stands for BV.
The winner of this game will be the player that figures out and conquers the right lane. Brian Voss went high in the first frame, or excuse me, in the second frame. He goes light in the fourth frame.
Maybe the winner of the tournament who can conquer the right of the TV pair. Look at all the matches on TV. 75 appearances, 19 and 17 in title games, 36 appearances. Covers the 2-8 nicely. Always charismatic and so much fun to watch on TV is Brian Voss. What a character.
That 2-8 spare was no gimme this week. With the lanes being dry in the middle and tight to the outside, if you missed your target just a little bit to the left, it hooked past it, a little bit to the right, and you never got up to the 2-pin.
See the oil right on the ball there on that black bowling ball. How will it respond on this lane? We'll see. 9 is up.
Lanes are changing. Brian has to make the subtle adjustments that we make game to game, sometimes frame to frame. Those oil rings, Dave, you're referring to is because of the weight block in the bowling ball, it actually causes what we call track flare migration. That's why there's multiple rings on a bowling ball.
Takes care of the 9. Is it helpful to wipe that off with a towel before you bowl?
Because of these new bowling balls, as you can see, these flares, there's multiple flares, and they're determined by the amount of revolutions that a player has. A guy like Robert Smith's going to have more rings on his bowling ball than I would. But, you know, because of this urethane material absorbs oil at such a fast rate, half the players wipe the rings off, the other half, they just leave it.
Oscu Palerma did quite a bit of wiping with a towel on his bowling ball. That's high for Barnes. 3-6-10 for Chris.
Right lane blues, not sure what your ball is going to do out of your hand. And we saw this all week long. A little bit to the left, it goes high. A little bit to the right, it hangs.
Multi-pin conversion numbers, you see them there. 1-pin lead now as things stand for Barnes.
The only good news for Chris is that the 9-pin's not standing up with the 3-6-10.
Little help. Little help.
Doesn't get the help he'd asked for. Open frame, Chris Barnes. That could be very devastating to his quest for a first ever major. What happened?
Miss left. Miss left, got the ball inside, chopped the 3 straight off the 6. And again, the open frames is what proved to be the killer for all players this week. The guys that could avoid open frames were the ones that won their match games.
So now it's a 13-beat deficit. That looked a little bit light, but got some help. And a strike in the 6th frame for Chris Barnes, responding well from his open in the 5th. And he's down 13 pins. Looks for a double when we come back. The 61st U.S. Open presented by Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. Trouble for Barnes on the right of the TV pair. Voss looking good. ESPN's exclusive live coverage of the 61st U.S. Open presented by Jackson Hewitt Tax Service is brought to you by Geico. A 15-minute phone call could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By new Odor Readers Plus. It's the only arch-supporting insole that protects against odor and wetness. And by Miller High Life, to live simply, proudly, boldly, manly. This is the High Life. Who will take on Pete Weber in the finals? Brian Voss or Chris Barnes? BV a 13-pin lead as things stand now. Consistency was the key this week, as Randy explains, in this week's Dexter Approach.
The key this week was accuracy, and one of the ways to create accuracy is keeping your head nice and steady at release. Pete Weber does it. Watch Chris Barnes' head. Watch it come down, and it stays there. And nobody does it better than Brian Voss. Watch how steady this is. You can put a plate of food on top of his head. But probably the best player of all time has the most head movement of any player I've ever seen, yet is the most accurate, which leads me to believe that Walter Ray Williams Jr. has the best hand-eye coordination I've ever seen.
Can't argue with Deadeye success. Getting to another show, but defeated by Brian Voss. 6th frame now. BV up 13. Trying to close out Chris Barnes and deny Barnes' quest for a first ever major championship. But it's the right of the TV pair. The lane Brian is on now. It's caused some struggles. Can he adjust? It's high.
Light, high, light, high, light, high. You got to ask yourself, well, what adjustment should we make, or what adjustment should I make? And folks at home are watching going, wow, these guys are pros. Why can't they make an adjustment? And sometimes it's just not that easy.
Three, 6.
Look out.
Barely got the 3.
Wow.
Bottom of your screen, 24 bowlers who made match play. Try to get themselves to the TV show. And the 3 just got raised there,
No
Ray.
moment, folks.
I think the wind blew that over.
He'll gladly take it. Mr. 300 Bob Learn in the 13th spot. Steve Jarris is exempt next year, as is Robert Smith.
A lot of foreign flavor. Tori Torgerson from Norway. Amleto Monacelli from Venezuela. Look out. Oh!
Not only a break to avoid the split, but he gets all 10 down somehow.
What a nice break. Watch this. This ball's going to go high. 4, 6, 7, 10 standing. Caves the big 4 in. Maybe that'll get him jump-started so he can figure out what to do on the right lane. By the way, Brian Voss has to finish on the right lane. Advantage Chris Barnes.
Without question, with the struggles the bowlers have had on that lane, which is where Chris Barnes is right now. 7th frame looks for a double. 10 down for Chris Barnes. He's down by one single pin. He can go up with a strike here. Tonight, the AFC NFC Pro Bowl returns to the ESPN, a one-of-a-kind NFL event, a game for the fan. More mics, cameras, innovative technology like Skycam promise superior access that only ESPN can deliver. Peyton Manning, Jamal Lewis, Priest Holmes for the AFC, Brett Favre, Amon Green, Randy Moss of the Vikes from the NFC. It's all coming up as our Sunday night NFL countdown. Coverage starts at 6.
Speaking of Randy Moss, we were throwing the football yesterday in the parking lot of the bowling center. You look like you could probably throw and complete a couple passes to Randy Moss.
Not a bad arm yourself, partner. Chris Barnes, high it goes, and a difficult split to deal with here.
And that was Chris Barnes' good lane.
He can't believe it.
He struck every time on the left lane, and this time he gets half. On a double, a chance to take a big lead. A Greek Churches.
How do you go about it? Take the 3 on the right and leave up the 4-7. That's all you really can do there. The 6, 9, 10 stay up on the right side of the Greek Church.
Depending on what Brian Voss does, this could be the end of Chris Barnes. When you see him pull out of the shot immediately and go down like that, he knows that he needs some help. It was the same type of shot that cost him the title at the ABC Masters. 7th frame of that title match, he pulled one left and left a big split against Walter Ray Williams Jr.
8th frame looks for a double. Big shot from Voss. They all go down. 30 pin lead for BV.
And Brian Voss just jumped all over that big opening that Chris Barnes let him have. Watch this ball's perfect. He figured out the right lane. And how about that reaction? Brian Voss knows now, one strike here in the 9th frame, it's all but over.
Foundation frame looks for the turkey ball here. And in essence, shutting down Chris Barnes.
Big shot right here.
That's it! Not a perfect ball, but the perfect result for Brian Voss.
Brian Voss is going to be in the 2 teens with a mark in the 10th frame. The best Chris Barnes can shoot is 197, and that shot right there all but locked it up for Brian Voss.
40-pin lead. Barnes would hope to have his wife Linda fly in this morning, but remember we're at 9:30 West Coast time start, and they couldn't arrange a flight early enough for Linda to make it. So they're watching back home. Twin boys Troy and Ryan. Family dog SP is locked in, I'm sure, to Chris's TV exploits today. Who's waiting? PDW himself, who's with fellow legend Walter Ray Williams Jr. enjoying watching for now. They each have 2 U.S. Open titles. Brian Voss has a U.S. Open as well. Chris Barnes, quest for that first ever major. Maybe it falls short yet again. Told us last night, it's just been devastating. He's given tournaments away at times. When he's been on TV, we saw the major record on television where he struggled.
I mean, there's no secret to the fact of how talented Chris Barnes is. I mean, Chris Barnes is a great, great player. But he is not getting it done on television when he needs to get it done, plain and simple. Greek Church in the 8th frame is going to cost him this match. And he made a bad shot when he made a great shot to catch a double. I mean, you know what? He is sick right now because of the fact that he knows he's capable of so much better. 0-6 in major finals matches. He's 5-13. Now he's going to be 5-14.
About to drop to 0-7 in that category. 7 pins to win for Brian Voss. Next time he's up, that'll shut out Chris Barnes. Chris told us last night a goal of his since he was a young boy growing up in Kansas to win a major. A goal that so many PBA stars like Chris have, and it's an emotional time for him. Said the exemption really hasn't been in his mind the whole time. He did win in Japan, did not give him exempt status, but he's such a great season. He certainly will be in the 64-man exempt field next year. 7th in points heading into this TV show today here in Southern California. But it's been that goal to win a major that will still elude Chris Barnes, it appears.
And that 6 count's not going to help him either. Brian Voss just throws one straight and hard down the middle, and he's going to advance to the title match against Pete Weber. You really got to feel for Chris Barnes. You just wonder what's going on inside his head when he gets up to make crucial shots like he did in the 8th frame.
A confident PDW is more than ready.
Well,
competitive fire is always burned with him. Right down the middle there. And an 8 count. That's all I needed. Needed 7, got 8.
Real easy to be confident when you haven't bowled on this pair yet for $100,000 for first. Brian Voss has got 2 games under his belt, and in my opinion, that's an advantage for Brian Voss.
So for an hour and a half, Pete has been waiting. A little bit of practice in between matches during commercial breaks. Picks up the 6-10. We're just going to fast track to the end here, where Brian Voss has wrapped up the match. 2 wins for BV, and he's 1 victory shy. Who stands in his way with his rock and roll drummer buddy right behind him? Pete Weber. Saw the numbers head-to-head with Pete. That wraps it up. The president and CEO of the PBA is Steve Miller. Holly Rowe will have an interview with Steve coming up when we return to Southern California. We started with 5 great bowlers, 5 of the best in the world in the 61st U.S. Open presented by Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. We are down to 2, Brian Voss and Pete Weber. They've been winners. Speaking of other winners, the Senior Awards on the PBA Tour. Congratulations to the Player of the Year, Bob Chamberlain. Rookie of the Year, Don Sylvia. And for the Regionals, Steve Jarris, PBA Tour member, won this year in Toledo. He's got exempt status. Same goes for Mike Scroggins, a winner in the Southwest Regional, the left-hander. Joined now by Holly Rowe as the president and CEO of the PBA Tour, Mr. Steve Miller. Holly.
Thanks, Dave. Well, Steve, there's been so much discussion about the decision by the PBA to go to that 64-person exempt tour. What was behind the decision?
Well, the decision was really multifold, but the real reason is we wanted to showcase the greatness of the athletes, and we wanted to showcase their personalities in a more succinct and directed fashion.
How will the tour benefit the players and the regional players?
Well, the regional players will benefit enormously. It becomes our buy.com tour. It becomes our exempt tour, moving tour. It gives them an inspiration and an aspiration and a goal. And the regional players will play a really critical role in the movement towards the exempt tour. The winners will be exempt. The best players will move forward. We're very excited about the opportunities.
All right. Thanks very much, Steve.
My pleasure.
Dave, back to you.
Exempt status. Chris Barnes hasn't earned it quite yet. Pete Weber has earned it. Looks to earn another major championship when we return. At the 1991 U.S. Open from Woodland Bowl in Indianapolis, Pete Weber would start and end the championship match with a spare. But he would bookend those spares with nothing but strikes. Throwing an eventual 289 against hometown crowd favorite Mark Thayer. But what happened during the trophy presentation is what most people will never forget. It would be one of the most famous or infamous moments in PBA history involving PDW. Absolutely priceless reaction on the face of Pete Weber. Very special guest Michael Lister of Jackson Hewitt Tax Services, now joined by Holly Rowe.
Second year that you've been involved with the PBA, how has it benefited Jackson Hewitt and the PBA?
Well, it's been great. So there's 2 ways we can go with this. Nationally, we help bring exciting games to an increasing number of fans. And then locally, our franchisees can engage the over 2,000 bowling centers to bring benefits to their customers. So it's been great.
All right. Well, congratulations on your partnership, and thanks for doing it. Dave?
Great to see Michael Lister from Jackson Hewitt Tax Service once again. Getting ready for this matchup leads us to the Geico Direct Championship recap. Randy?
Thanks, Dave. Early in the first match, it was Walter Ray Williams Jr. defeating Oscu Palerma by the score of 228-198. Walter Ray doubles in the 10th to shut out Oscu. Then in our quarterfinal match, BV Brian Voss defeating Walter Ray by the score of 260-214. Brian Voss throws 11 out of 12 strikes. And as we just saw, the semifinal, it was Brian Voss defeating Chris Barnes by the score of 214-193. Chris Barnes splits in the 8th frame to open the door for Brian, setting up a great championship match for the 61st PBA U.S. Open title.
That's our Geico Direct Championship recap. Pete Weber has won 6 major championships. As the #1 seed, can he continue the trend? It's our house band. Bang, bang, buddy. Rocking the house at the 61st U.S. Open presented by Jackson Hewitt Tech Service. Brian Voss, 4-1 is Pete Weber against BV. How did PW get here? Let's find out. Pete Weber's run through the field began in the 50th spot after day 1, and he improved his standing after every round. His climb continued in the position round, where he blew out Chris Barnes last night in Fountain Valley. Along with his opponent in the finals today in the U.S. Open, he's joined now by Holly Ray.
Brian, how have the 2 games you've bowled so far, how will they help you in this final?
Well, it's always nice to win a couple of matches. Lanes are changing real quick. I tell you what, Pete and I are great friends, but when we step up here, we don't like each other, and that's just the way it is.
All right, we'll look out for that. Pete, you have had to be patient throughout the week. You said that's been one of your keys. How have you been patient here so far, waiting to bowl in the final?
I haven't done nothing real special. I just kind of watched them bowl a little bit, see where they were playing the lanes, and got a little bit of a read. So, like Brian said, we don't like each other right now. Let's get it on.
All right. Dave, I'm out of here.
Good idea, Holly. Clear out. You never know. Fists could be flying any moment. Classic moment. Folks, they are good friends. That was tongue-in-cheek there. Don't worry. Pete, 2nd place behind last year's Rookie of the Year in the points, the March to the World Championship, trying to get to that round of Super 16, top 8 get there at the season-ending World Championship in Michigan. So here we go, folks. 61st U.S. Open. Major title on the line. 2 Hall of Famers go head-to-head. You couldn't ask for a better scenario.
It just seems like we've seen this a number of times. Brian Voss going up against Pete Weber.
Great start. BV.
Players of this caliber in a title match for a major championship take it to a whole nother level mentally. They get so focused that nothing else enters into the thought process except putting the ball in their hand and letting go of it at the foul line.
It's been quite a while since we started our broadcast at 9:30 local time. More than an hour and a half to wait for Pete Weber, and here he goes. But as we told Holly, it's time to get it on. Leading into the Baby Ruth Real Deal matchup.
Pretty sweet matchup, but if you want to look at one thing, look at the strike percentage. And if it's going to come down to having to throw one to win this thing, Brian Voss has got the higher percentage. Although Pete has owned Brian on television.
As we mentioned before, pin, help.
Pete slaps his hand so hard he loses one of his rings. You think Pete's fired up? Nice break here. 6 goes to the sidewall, cuts the 10 out. Weber gets on top of Voss early with a big double.
Wears a couple bracelets too, the magnetic type, to help ease the pain, fatigue in his hands, especially his wrist. Back to Brian Voss. All down again for Brian Voss from Atlanta.
Take your shirt off. Let's go out in the backyard and let's get the gloves on and let's just see who the last guy standing is, because that's what you're going to have right now is a slugfest between Voss and Weber. Light zone carries it all even after 2.
The emotions run high here, folks. This is a big tournament from Brian Voss. We mentioned the first half of the year was grasping at any idea he could muster Try to figure out what the problem was. But a few weeks ago, made the adjustment. And all the adjustments are paying off now for Brian Voss, without question.
This is what a U.S. Open is all about. Perfect through 2.5 frames. Look at Brian Voss. Everything riding on this. 4 weeks ago, he was 72nd on the point list.
Amazing.
Right now, 1 win away from his second major and $100,000.
Likes the sunglasses to reduce the glare. Pete Weber.
Yeah!
What a start for our bowlers. 6 in a row. We're all even.
Look what Pete Weber did to the other 4 guys, or the other 3 guys on the telecast. The only player he lost to, Brian Voss. Defeated Chris Barnes twice. You ask why he bowled Chris Barnes twice? He bowled him once in position round as well.
Pete told us last night, on top of his game. Feels as positive about his bowling now as he ever has in his career, which for someone of that status is a pretty amazing statement.
Says he feels better than ever. It's his best year ever on the PBA Tour. Focus, determination is what's got him here to this point.
Come on! Yeah! Urges the ball to turn back to the pocket. Stays perfect. Front 4 for Weber. Turkey to start for Brian Voss. The first 3. Everything perfect for all. 2 kings of the lane certainly are on display. Center stage here in Southern California, all going for the U.S. Open trophy. $100,000. The exemption for 3 years. Double points. There's so much to be won. The third of our 4 majors, and things are interesting, folks. 2 potential 300 games with plenty of bonus money available from Cambridge Credit Counseling should that happen. Huge crowd. Not a sound to be heard. Until the release, it's high. Almost had the big 4. This is not an easy shot at all. 4-6-7.
And again, the right lane jumps up and bites somebody. Brian Voss needed a strike there to keep this match all even. Lisa.
One. Let's talk about 4, 6, 7. They all go down. Incredible.
How about this for your rock and roll shot? BV makes the 4, 6, 7 out of the pit. Here it comes. Get out of there.
Certainly worthy of the Inter Tire rock and roll. Brian Voss, who last night sent the crowd a fountain bowl, had the 7-10 against Walter A. Williams Jr. That was unbelievable to watch. We had great crowds. And the final qualifying rounds, position play. 7-10, can you believe it?
Think I can get that?
Oh my God.
What are the odds?
Brian, the odds are monumentally against this happening. He did it last night, remember?
Astronomical. He made this last night in position round. There's only been 3 of these ever made on television. Mark Roth, John Mazza, Jess Stayrook. The only 3 to ever convert 7-10 on television.
What do you think?
Oh.
No help there, 7. Stays up for Brian Voss last night in Fountain Valley against Walter A. Williams Jr. It's a 7-10. Randy did it.
Got to get that ball to enter that pin at a 45-degree angle. Hope it pops out. It's exactly what Brian Voss did. He told me last night. He says, you know, Rand, as soon as I let go of it, I thought I had a really good chance of making it. Sure enough.
That he did. Now it's an opening. Remember, Pete's still perfect here. Looks for the front 5. Got to hurry. Tie. Look out. A split for him, too. Unbelievable. 6, 7, 10.
That wasn't very good.
Watch the bottom of the swing here. We know that Pete likes to keep that hand nice and open at the bottom. Look at the fingers, how they're curled underneath. He grabbed it right at the bottom of the swing. That made the ball go high.
Maybe an issue here as we look to try to convert that difficult shot. Kicking it across the lane, and the deck almost got the 7. A lot of thumb pain for Pete Weber. As he told us last night, his hand, after all the 50-plus games of bowling, hasn't been a big problem. It's the thumb that has really hurt him.
Yeah, his thumb's really big and ugly with a lot of calluses on it. He says a lot of thumb pain, hard to hold on to it. Pete maybe going with an extra piece of tape, a little more rosin. Got to be secure in the thumb.
11-pin lead, trying to recover from his open frame. That's high as well. 3-6 remains standing for PDW. What a start for each bowler here, folks. First 3 for Voss, front 4 for Pete Weber. But now some struggles. Takes care of the 3-6, but barely. And rebounds from his open in the 5th with a mark.
Brian Voss finds himself only 11 pins down after the circus show in the 5th and 6th frame. PD lets go of this one, and he goes, oh, no, I just chopped it.
Woo! Sigh of relief. He'll take that as he barely ekes out the 3-6.
Brian has to wait for a
Get
fan.
air time, that's all right.
A fan who is coming back to their seats.
Right. Hey, you gotta love it. He's having fun with the moment. He is a showman above all. Money leaders this year. Pete Weber's got a chance to really jack up that number with $100,000 on the line. Right to the top of the list. Big shot. Brian Voss not bothered by the fan taking their seat so late before the delivery.
Big time shot. Brian Voss a good 10, 12 boards left of where he started in his first match against Walter Ray Williams Jr. He's making the adjustments. And right now, Brian Voss can cut the lead to 1 pin with a strike in the 7th frame.
Oh, it's high. Ball. 10 won't fall, Brian. Sorry. 3-10 up for Brian Voss.
The pressure of the U.S. Open, all that money, Brian Voss, past struggles over the last 2.5 to 3 months. Brian needs to convert this 310. And for a guy of Brian Voss's caliber, skill level, he should make this 8 out of 10 times.
Look out. The 3 stands a huge error for Brian Voss. We'll see how devastating that turns out to be. Another open frame, Randy.
I think that Brian Voss got his chance when Pete opened in the 5th frame. I don't see Pete Weber opening again. Brian needed to take advantage. He had a strike in the 6th. Bad shot in the 7th for the 310. Pete Weber can get all over him right here.
You heard Pete. This is you. He said it's his chance. That's how you take advantage. That's why he's won 30 titles, including 6 major championships. Maybe another title for Pete or for Brian Voss next week. We roll on to the Odor Eaters Open in Tucson, Arizona. 12:30 Eastern start, folks. Note the start time. 12:30 on the East Coast, 9:30 here in the West Coast. For more, log on ESPN.com. We head to the desert. See the max numbers. Pete a chance. Great chance for a 3rd U.S. Open. Ooh. Light, though. Gets help on the 7. And the 2 stays up.
A lot of help there. Almost 210, almost 2-7. Instead, it's going to be 9 spare for Pete Weber. Right now, Pete Weber going into the 2 teens. Brian Voss can strike out. 222. Brian Voss needs to start. It needs to start now. The strike in the 8th and 9th frame will put all the pressure back on Pete Weber. He needs 2 strikes. Probably 2 of the biggest shots in his entire
career. That is pressure. This is PBA drama. Will he respond? 10 pin.
Well, he responded, and he dead-pured that shot, and he got 9 for his effort, and that's the one thing in our sport you can't control is pin carry. Brian Voss made the shot he needed to make, and his reward was a big, ugly ring in 10, but it's still not over. Spare here, he strikes out, he shoots 212. Pete Weber going at a 215 pace.
Almost a full year since we've seen Brian Voss on TV, February 23rd in North Carolina last year, taking on his very opponent here. As we see the breakdown through 8. It was Pete Weber last season who toppled Brian Voss, 245-182 in Burlington, North Carolina. They match up again here today.
You see that Pete Weber sitting there, you can't see his eyes, just those glasses, like a vulture sitting on his perch, waiting for the animal to die so he can swoop down and start eating him.
He's getting close. Putting things away. 2-pin for Voss.
Now with a spare here, best Brian Voss can shoot is 201. Pete Weber needs to stay out of his own way, and he will win this U.S. Open and $100,000.
What did Pete say to us last night, Randy? We asked him, who would you vote for Player of the Year? Well, he's got the one title in Medford. He said, I'd vote for me. Because he's been so consistent from start to finish with points. As we see Player of the Year race. There you go. Pete looking for a second title. 4 TV shows already. Mika, the 5 shows. Chris Barnes, 6 shows, but no titles officially for exempt status.
Right here, baby!
Big shot again for Pete. Getting closer, 9 pins, and he's wrapped up his 7th major championship.
Big time shot. It's not over yet, however. Pete still needs 9. Everything that we've seen thus far, this tough lane condition, anything can happen. Pete going to the spare ball, throw it straight and hard right down the middle.
9, he's got it. He thinks he does.
He's got it.
He's got 10. He has got a major championship.
Right on, brother, right on! Yeah! That's right! This is my tournament! Mine!
Pete Weber is the 2004 U.S. Open champion. 7th major title.
First one's on me tonight.
All right. And he's buying. With $100,000, 3-year exemption. Tracy, his wife, can barely watch.
Thank you. Right here, baby. Storm number 1, right there. That's right. Storm.
He's got the Q-Link pinned it on, something he says, Randy, that's changed his life entirely.
A lot of guys out here wearing the Q-Link pendant. It helps our mental focus. Mika Koivuniemi wearing it. Pete Weber has changed his entire game and outlook.
One of many athletes who wear it. Pete Weber is your champion. He takes